Hi guys, it's Denise again. We are in the Growing Up GRIN session. Can you guys hear me okay? We have a few speakers for this session. We have Tracy Gilbert up first. She is a GRIN mom, a young adult with GRIN 1 mutation. And then we have a couple other speakers that are planned. We're still trying to see if they're joining here. We also have a GRIN patient, Benjamin Wan, scheduled, and I'll just reach out to them and make sure they're not having any difficulties joining. And then we have a sibling of a GRIN patient, Tyrese Angela, also joining us. So with that, Tracy, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you. Glad to be here, but very nervous, so bear with me. Just wanted to talk a little bit about our GRIN journey, which started almost 20 years ago now. And our daughter was born on October 18th. And she was a very healthy little girl. And at about 7 months of age, we noticed that things weren't as expected, but we had no idea why. And so that's kind of when our journey with her started, and when we got, I guess, called on our GRIN journey. And it took us literally 15 years to get a diagnosis, but that didn't come at a small price. It took a lot of time, a lot of resources, a lot of energy. It was very stressful, but we did get our diagnosis. So just to back up a little bit, when Tori was 7 months old, we had noticed that literally over like a weekend period, she had gone from a very happy, cuddly, bubbly little girl, and she was kind of just like, we just kind of literally lost her over a weekend, like literally from a Friday to a Monday. We had noticed a big difference in her. She wasn't tracking things anymore. She wasn't holding things. She didn't want to be touched, cuddled, anything like that. And there was just this look in her face and her eyes that we knew was not the little girl we had on Friday. She became really kind of very floppy, and this was all new to us. So after a few appointments with her primary care, she tried to convince us that everything was okay. We shouldn't be comparing her with our older child, who had met all of his milestones. And eventually, though, we did end up having a few evaluations done, and we actually started some physical therapy. And shortly following the physical therapy, there were some other therapies that came along. And so the OT started, the speech started. Tori did start progressing, so we were hopeful. Progress was slow, but at least we had some progress. And so we kept doing that, but we didn't have any diagnosis still. Didn't know why she wasn't making her milestones, didn't know why she was the way she was. And so we as parents wanted some answers. So we just kept doing what we could do, trying to meet with who we could meet with, to get her evaluated and see if we could find out what was going on. So we're from New York, very northern New York. We're up on the Canadian border, very rural. Very limited resources here. Not a lot of people that think outside the box. And, fortunate for my family, we think outside the box. I had some parents and a sister who were very supportive and like, you got to do this. So we did. We met with various doctors throughout New York State, and even traveled to Boston, hoping for some answers. But still weren't really getting any results. She was kind of like, we don't know. We don't know. Made several trips to New York City, met with one of the top neurologists down there, and he really thought she had mitochondrial disorder. Came back negative, and we were at a loss then. At this point, she wasn't gaining weight. She had developed some severe reflux. We were concerned about that. And we actually, at one point, were hospitalized with her and had been informed we need to prepare for the worst. So we opted to have a my apologies.
Take your time, Tracy.
We opted to have a Mickey button surgically placed to save her, and it worked. So fortunately, she's still here with us. But again, we still didn't have any answers. So we still didn't know why. Why could we not get these things under control? So Tori's quite a fighter, and she bounced back from that quite well. And she's proven throughout her 19 years, almost 20 years, that she's definitely a fighter. So a few more years went on. We continued with therapies and evaluations, assessments, medications, new doctors. And at the age of 5, she was diagnosed with epilepsy. And it was truly that neurologist, I think, that got us on our path to the GRIN. And we actually treat with all of her medical providers are like 3.5 hours away from us. But they think outside the box there, which we are very thankful for. So this neurologist actually performed a variety of genetic testing that was within her realm. And when everything kept coming back negative, she says that we need to meet with a neurogeneticist. So we did. And although we were excited, his words to us were, "I'm 30% sure I can tell you what's wrong with your daughter." And I just sank. It's like 30%, that's it. And he informed me in the world of genetics that that's pretty high. So about 4 weeks after having the whole exome sequencing done, we got the call that she had the GRIN 1. So it was a bittersweet time for us. We had a diagnosis, but obviously we can see all the difficulties and challenges that come with that. So that was, so we were kind of like, okay, this is good. We know what's going on, and it's been a long time getting here, but at least we had the diagnosis. And that did bring us to, having that diagnosis has brought us to a very good place. We have developed a new normal. We know what to expect now. We've found a great family of GRIN people that can share in our struggles, our challenges, our progress. Even though it's small progress and little victories, they're definitely victories for us. But we are now at a point where we are dealing with a lot of adult issues. And Tori is 19, going on 20. And there were things that we didn't think about when our child was 10, 12, even younger, even a little bit older. And so I want to just mention a couple of those things that parents need to be thinking about, even now, despite how young your child is. And one of the biggest things that really didn't hit us was when she turned 18, she became a legal adult. And legally, we had no say over anything with regards to her anymore. She technically has the right to say and do what she wants. Our daughter is nonverbal. Our daughter is non-ambulatory. Our daughter can do nothing for herself. She provides us lots of joy, but she can't make those decisions. And so guardianship is one thing that I really want to encourage parents to think about and start thinking about early. We still have not got our guardianship established, thanks to COVID. We had started the process and COVID hit, so we're kind of in limbo with that right now. And fortunately, I think one of the positive things about being in a rural area is we haven't had a lot of issues with getting her treatment and getting her things that she needs without her ability to consent to that, and not having the legal ability to do it for her. But definitely something that you don't want to put on the back burner, and it's going to come before you know it. Like my daughter's going to be 20 years old next month, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it seems like we just started this journey. Another thing that is also a current issue for us is medical care. She's been treated by pediatrics her whole life. And right now we are actually, we are being forced to switch over to adult care providers, which is not easy. It's a very daunting task. It's very stressful. We've been talking to the same people about our child over and over for years. And now it's like, you got to find a whole new group of people. You have to retell your story. You've got to re-educate them, because GRIN is something that many, many people know nothing about. They know a lot about the symptoms that come with it, but the overall component, they're just so not familiar with. And so it's so much, it can be tiring. But again, it's something that needs to be thought about. And our neurologist has agreed to keep her till she's 23. So we're thankful for that. But her other providers, that's not the case. And so, you know, seeking the medical care and knowing that that point is going to come. And we have such a limited options here. I know sometimes as parents, we're like, okay, who do you go to for this? Who do you go to that for that? And you kind of take their advice, and you know, you're comfortable with the advice of other parents. We don't have anyone that we can really do that with around here. So just something to be thinking about as well. And then a third thing, and I don't want to take up a lot more time, but a third thing is the education piece: schooling, education, services, housing. You know, is she going to continue to live with us? Is she not? What's available for options? In New York State, she had the ability to graduate from school at 19, but she can stay till 21. I'm sure different countries and different places, it's different. But some of the things you really need to think about is, if I don't keep her in school, what happens to the services she's getting? Who's going to get her there? My husband and I both work full time, so it's not like we can just drop what we're doing and get her to therapies or treatments or community groups, whereas the school is currently providing that for her. But you know what? She's going to be 21 soon, and that school's not going to be an option for us anymore. And so really, we need to be looking as parents into resources that are available for our children once that education piece is not there for them. And you know, how are we going to continue to function with her and get her what she needs? Financially, I have insurance. I have great insurance, but they won't pay for physical therapy. They won't pay for occupational therapy. So she needs those services, and she's probably going to always need those services. So then looking for resources that are available to help cover that expense. We currently have staff that we have been able to hire through a program that New York State has. So it's alleviated some of the providing care for her when she's not involved with therapies and those types of things. But again, you know, every state, I'm sure every country is different. And but just some things that as a parent, I guess we need to be thinking about. So I think I'm going to end there. Sorry about the emotion. I always get that way.
Thank you so much, Tracy. You should see some of the chats that are coming in for the support, and people are so grateful. We're so grateful to hear your story. We want to know. You've been down this road longer than most of us, so we really appreciate your sincere transparency. And thank you so much. I want to remind people that we do have a Q&A and chat option in the right-hand side. If you have any questions specifically for Tracy or for Benjamin coming up, please put it in the chat or in the Q&A, and we'll try and address those. But thank you so much, Tracy. And
Thank you.
now it's my pleasure to introduce you to Benjamin Wan. Benjamin is a little bit of a celebrity in our world since your cameo video for our GRIN Awareness Month. We loved seeing you and hearing from you, and we want to know more about you. So, Benjamin, I will hand it over to you.
Well, thank you. And I did see on the chat someone did say that Sweet Hat Ben. I saw that. That was pretty much awesome. I wanted to say that for sure. Let's see. So I guess I want to start off how I started with GRIN 2A, which I have. So I have GRIN 2A, and I started when I was 3 years old, and I had seizures, and it was during Thanksgiving Day, yeah, so that's when we found out that I had epilepsy. And when I found out, I never knew about having seizures. I never felt the seizures. So I was told that I had seizures during that time. And during just learning about it many times and growing up, and other stuff. So it's basically a walk. It's kind of a walk in the park, and I had a couple of issues, couple of things that are really hard and challenging, but GRIN, or my epilepsy, took me places, and it took me places where I couldn't go or could go or whatever. And my parents also showed me another way of pack burro racing, running, doing exercise, keep my brain healthy, of running and running with donkeys is basically the stuff that we normally do. And then they helped me with other challenges that I need to figure out in life, and I'm already doing a couple of things that help me, which is another school that is better than high school, which is Bridge. It's called the Bridge program, and which is another school, but it helps me with subtracting the time, knowing how long I should be late, or not late, but how long should I be there on time, and knowing my money stuff, knowing bills, apartments, anything that has to relate with the real life, which we never got from my high school. We never got that taught, but and also growing up with different medications that changed my life as well, such as pharmaceuticals to CBD. Pharmaceuticals didn't do really well with me. I was bad. I was hurting people, hurting my family, always angry, and my thoughts weren't coming out correctly, and very slow, and so my parents learned that to be patient with me, and being patient taught me a valuable lesson of life, and I've taught to be patient all the time, and to be nice. And so when we finally went to do CBD, I can finally sing songs in the radio, listen to other things that was 2000 songs. I remember all of the songs now back in 2004 or something like that. And I'll be in the car just mumbling the words. And then now, of 2020 or 2019 to 2020, or when I first started the CBD, it's where I can finally listen, speak faster, learn other things. But the older I get, the more wiser, or at least mindful I will be, and grow up to do other stuff and do other things.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think a lot of parents would would be curious to know what your experience. How do you experience seizures, and what does it feel like, and what type of advice would you give parents for kids that are having seizures?
Well, for me, for seizures, I can't really feel or what happened. If mainly it's at night, and my mom will try to wait 5 minutes, and let's see. So yeah, 5 minutes, and I'll be like, what the heck happened? And nothing really ever occurred. Everyone is different for how they have seizures. Some people can, I think I heard from from a friend of mine. His father, he passed away of a seizure, but he learned to talk while he had a seizure. He learned how to speak. So everyone is different.
But for you weren't really aware when it was happening that you were having.
No feelings, and it was either something I ate, which would be rosemary. Rosemary is the one thing that it's kind of like Superman with kryptonite. Rosemary is my kryptonite.
Wow, I've never heard of that. Maybe some other parents have, but rosemary. Don't eat rosemary.
And I think let's see, for vices for parents, it's don't be nervous, don't be scared, and just be patient and wait. But it is a scary thought. The older the kid, or the older the kid gets to be a kid, to becoming an adult, and since I'm 19 years old, my age can affect my epilepsy, which could lead to, if I don't get out of an epilepsy seizure, I could basically die if I have longer than 5 minutes. But and then so we have my emergency meds that help me too. That would help me in 30 seconds because it's a nasal spray. It's different, but I think just support from other people, and if the kid has a friend that trust him, and they can be patient and all the other stuff. There will be some times where people will call 911 on their kids and be scared a little bit and hesitate. And I think another reason is for teachers. Let the teachers know, or trust. It's a lot of trust you have to do, and some people are not really trustworthy in this time of what's happening, and also sickness, if very bad sickness, and trust is another thing, and so you have to figure out the solution for it. And I think school can be a little bit of struggle, but I have taught myself on how to make it easy for me for school. And I do better when I say it than type it and write it. So I use microphones and other stuff and other things. So I've learned.
It sounds like you really have learned a lot about yourself and how to take care of yourself and how you learn best. That's amazing. I'm not seeing any specific questions from families, but I'm curious, like your experience in the school system and in public school, have you found people to be accepting of you, or have you had any challenges with being bullied or anything like that?
I don't think I have seen any negativity to me or to anyone else ever since of growing up. And if there was a negative thought, all my negative thoughts, or from someone or from something, sometimes it sticks there, but sometimes it just goes away, and I probably never thought about it. And it kind of pushed back to them. It never affected me, and never affected them. So, but I never saw anyone or anything. I think one time in Bridge, two older teachers who needed help with technology, I had I guess I had because I know a lot about technology, really, and so much, in fact, that I have my own 3D printer. So
yeah, that's amazing.
And I'm making a part right now. It's a project goal that I always wanted to make, and it was a Star Wars helmet, and I'm finally making it by piece every day. And so
that's great.
I get a lot of trust from anyone and everyone, even if it was a political view. But
yeah, good for you for having patience. We have a couple of questions coming in for you, Benjamin. One is, do you have any trouble sleeping right now, or did you have trouble sleeping in the past?
CBD helped sleeping. Honestly, I think it helps with like body problems. Maybe it helps with like backs or backache, or I mean, I haven't gotten any bad situations where I think this one time I felt like I slept wrong, but when I searched it up on YouTube, it was actually a cold um, muscle stiffness. So it was from cold wind going on my neck, and so when I turned my neck, I couldn't turn it to the right or left, or I could turn it to the left, but I couldn't turn it to the right. So let's see, sleeping. I guess sometimes it really helps with sleeping. CBD really helps with sleeping. No, yeah.
And have you always been able to walk, or do you remember ever having like a delay as far as like being able to walk, or you had full mobility that you can remember?
Yeah, I have the ability to remember and know a couple of things, and I can, yeah, walk slow, but I could do basically a lot of things.
Well, we know you can run. We've seen you running.
Right. And that's how I got this hat and shirt.
Yep, you're right. So I'm curious. Well, one of the parents is asking, in our community, we're trying to find a cure for our loved ones living with GRIN disorder. What do you think about a cure and what that might look like? And
well, let's see. What it would it look like? Memory. It would look muscle. Muscle memory, muscle movements. Knowing how other things work. Figuring out a couple of things. I'm not too sure, but
are those things that would be important for you to like improve in your life, or are you comfortable the way that you are right now? Or if you had a chance to improve some of those memories and cognition, would you want a cure?
yeah, I would definitely want a cure for GRIN people and other people who need it, and it's probably out there somewhere, and we can't find what it is, but it's working. It's being worked on. Let's see. Just I think working on words coming up the mouth. Like I'm having struggle already. I'm a little bit of
well, you're doing so great, Benjamin. You should see all
and then
that.
I'm already confused of what is happening, but it's at least a work in progress.
There's so much support coming out from the GRIN community for you, and we're so grateful for you to be here and sharing your story. It's truly remarkable and so inspiring for all of us. So thank you so much. So thank you. Love the hat and the t-shirt. Great job on the run. So now we have our next guest has arrived, and Tyrese Angela is the brother. He's 19-year-old brother to Hatham, who is, how old is Hatham? He's 5 or 6. Can you guys hear us okay?
But we're not seeing anything.
Okay, well, we can see you, but I'll hand this over to you, Tyrese, to share your story as a sibling to a GRIN disorder patient. If you have any questions for Tyrese as the talk, just put it in the Q&A and we'll try and ask him. So over to you, Tyrese.
Yeah. My name is Tyrese. Out to live with a brother with GRIN. It has its ups and downs, but it's good, you know. It's like if you have a bad day or something, and you play with my little brother, maybe 10 minutes, and your days will fine, you know. But it's also yeah, how to say, it's difficult sometimes because when you're on the bus or train and he's crying, the most of people don't know why or why we don't do nothing, and how do you say? That he has his tantrums, you know, that to explain it's difficult for people who don't know how to live with a kid like that, you know?
Yeah, I know that Hatham has had a lot of hospitalizations over the years, so a lot of medical, he's medically fragile at times. So I can imagine that'd be very scary for your family. Can you guys hear us? They might have lost audio. Nadine, can you guys hear us? Oh, we lost audio and video, and they're back. Is that better? Okay, there we go.
Because we only can hear you guys.
Okay. We can see you and we can hear you. So please tell us more about what it's like living, being a sibling with a child with GRIN disorder.
Sometimes it's hectic with his tantrums, and sometimes you don't know what he wants or you don't know how to explain what he wants. But eventually you will see and you will know what he wants, but it's sometimes difficult, you know.
And Hatham is how old now? Is he 7? Oh, he's 4. Okay, so you were still a young teenager when he was born.
Yeah, I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
15 when he was born.
And you mentioned earlier that you have that sometimes it's difficult for your family to get out and do things. How has that affected you?
It's a lot. It's not fun, but you know, you can't go out if it's difficult.
Would you say that you have a close bond with Hatham? Have you been able to, I know he's nonverbal, but have you been able to like develop what you feel is a relationship and a close bond with him?
Yes, of course, always. From birth, the day he was born, I had a bond with my brother.
Nice.
It was the first time when I saw him. It was different because he didn't react like normal babies did, but it was a special experience.
And you have a lot of siblings, so you know when you mention what a typical baby would behave like.
In total.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you love most about Hatham?
What I love the most is when you have a bad day and you go play with Haitham, maybe 10, 15 minutes, your days were good, you know? It's like
He's happy.
you never day.
He seems like a happy boy.
Yeah, all the time. Most of the time, yeah. Most of the time.
And Hatham is mobile, right? He walks.
Yeah, he walks. Yes.
Does he is he on a feeding tube, or does he eat solid foods?
Solid. He eats solid food. He got a Mickey button only on his forehead.
Oh, he does as well.
Yeah, for the intestines. For the flushing. But yeah.
Yeah, I see lots of pictures and lots of videos of Hatham. Do you sometimes feel like he gets all the attention?
No, not necessarily. It's like he's just a little kid, you know. He has his problems and he needs his attention.
What are so we had asked Benjamin earlier about if he had the ability to if we had the ability to find a cure, would he want that, and what would be the most important things that you know he would want to find a cure for first? What about for Hatham, for your brother? Would you, if there was a cure and what that would look like, would you want a cure for him? Would you want to change anything about him?
Yes, I want to change, but not much. I just that he can talk to us, that we can have, that we understand each other, you know. But for epilepsy attacks and stuff, that's for me a good. If there is a cure for that, then I will be happy.
Indeed, I think many of us share that sentiment. Is there anything else that you want us to know about Hatham, you know, or your life as a sibling, and
As a sibling,
what are some of your fears for the future?
in the future,
Do you worry that you'll have to be his caretaker later on in life?
that's not the trouble. That's not the, how do you say that? That's not my concern. If it's need to be, I will do it without a doubt. You know, if it's need to be, then it's need to be. But for the rest, I don't think so.
That's so great to hear that. I'm sure that's a big concern for many parents, putting stress on their other children. So thank you for being willing to step up if needed. I'm sure that gives your family a lot of peace.
I think so too.
Does anybody else have any questions? Somebody's asking, does Hatham have epilepsy? Yes, he does have epilepsy. And how often does he have
Only when he sleeps, he got his seizures. When he sleeps, then he got them.
Myoclonic episode.
Myoclonic.
Myoclonic episode.
Ik kan niet uitspreken, man.
He gets his episodes in his sleep.
Yeah, that's epic, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets his episodes in his sleeps only. Sometimes he zones out when I'm with him, but it's not so dangerous.
Well, there's a lot of support and gratitude coming in through the chat from families that you all have shared such your personal stories and in your lives have opened up to us. And I just want to, again, thank all of you, Tracy, Benjamin, Tyrese. Thank you for sharing so openly with us. And we'll go ahead and close this session. Up next, we have our GRIN 101 session on the main stage. So it's going to be a series of short talks to provide basics of GRIN science and the path to cure and therapies. And Keith MacArthur will be leading that. And thank you so much. And we will see you in the next session. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.